Hello everyone, my name is Jiyong. Today it is my honor to present our paper, Synchronization Storage Channels, Timeless Cache Channel Attacks on Apple M1 via hardware synchronization instructions. And it's a joint work between me, Aishani Dutta, my advisor Chris Fletcher from UC, Trent Jaeger from Penn State University, and David Kohlbrenner from University of Washington. Okay, so micro-side channel attacks, as we all know, deduce victim secret information through secret-dependent micro-state changes. And throughout the history of micro-side channel attack research, we have seen countless examples of what and how micro-states can become a function of secret data. For example, in the well-known prime and probe cache attack, as everyone knows, the attacker will first preoccupy a shared cache state, and when the victim accesses the same set, the attacker's LAN will be evicted. But there's more to this. The attacker needs some mechanism to transform micro-state changes into attacker-observable architectural state changes, like a program output. However, despite the variety of side channel attacks we have seen, we have actually few options of this micro state to architectural state converter. Almost every side channel attack uses a timer. Like in the cache attack, we'll measure the access latency to the evicted line. And as a result, there have been many side channel mitigations focusing specifically on timers, and this is also mentioned by the previous talk. But actually, we have basically no choice if we don't use timers. Previous research shows uncacheable memory and Intel TSX are those timerless converters, but neither of them works with a user-level attacker or on recent CPUs. In this world, we'll see another timerless microarchitecture to architectural state converter that applies to user space attacker on recent Apple processors. And the primitive we'll leverage today are called low-link and store-conditional instructions, which are the basic instructions for implementing mutually exclusive and synchronization operations. We'll see for the first time how hardware synchronization instructions can assist micro side channel attacks. Now let's see how they work with an example. If we want to build a log with LSC, we will first execute a load link, which not only performs a regular load to read the log status, but also starts monitoring this address to capture any external writes to it. And later on, a paired SC will perform a normal store to the address if and only if no external writes has been performed since the last LL. And also returns whether the store is performed or not to its destination register. So in normal programs, the failure can only caused by data race on the shared variable. For example, if another thread B is competing for the same log and perform its SC before thread A, the SC of thread A will fail. So thread A is informed that, okay, the log has been claimed by B already and will retry the same routine. But our question here is that, is data race the only cause of SC fails in practice, even if according to the instruction semantics, it should be the only cause? We find that the answer is actually a no on Apple M1. Our observation is that when the low-link address is cached in private L1 and no data race to this address happens, SC will always succeed. But if the address is evicted from L1 to L2 or low-level caches in between LL and SC, even without any data race to this address, SC will fail deterministically. So here we can see that actually LSC can only monitor addresses in L1. So in theory, LSC should always succeed unless data race occurs. But in the actual implementation on Apple M1, LSC can actually fail due to pure microarchitectural reason, which is L1 evictions. Although this may look like a bug, in practice, this should not cause any functional correctness issue because benign programs always retry on SC fails, as we see in the previous example. So excessive SC fails should only cause wasted program cycles. And we further observe that the monitoring granularity is L1 cache line size, and each pair of LSC is like a transaction, and every processor core can only support one such transaction. Namely, only one low-link address can be monitored at any given time. So the punchline here is that LSC is a good microarchitectural state to architectural state converter. It translates whether an address is cached in L1 into the SC return value. However, we still have two key challenges to address if we want to achieve a proper cross-core cache attack with it. And first, ALSC, as we see before, it only monitors address in private L1. But in order for the attack to be cross-core, we must obtain some degree of observation over the shared L2 cache state. Besides, as we mentioned, ALSC can only monitor one address at any given time. However, an ideal cross-core cache attack may want to monitor multiple addresses across multiple cache sets. So next, I will explain how we manage to address both challenges, and the end product is our synchronization storage channel. So our attack is based on a detailed reverse engineering of Apple M1's cache behaviors. We study the cache inclusion policy and replacement policies, which help us precisely control the L1 and L2 evictions. We also decipher the cache set index mapping functions, which allow us to generate eviction sets. And you can get more details about this part in the paper. Now, let's see how the basic S2C uses ALSC to monitor the victim's access into a single L2 set. Here, assuming that we have collected a good L2 eviction set for the victim address with 12 different addresses from X1 to X12, given that the L2 associativity is 12 on M1. At a high level, we found that in M1, the L2 cache is inclusive of L1. So we should be able to make the result of ALSC not only reflect the L1 evictions, but also L2 evictions because of the inclusivity property. So if the low-link address can be evicted by the victim from the shared L2, then its L1 copies will be evicted accordingly due to the inclusion cache, causing the later SC to the same address to fail. And this can be achieved by simply performing low link to X1 and then populating the rest of the L2 set with X2 to X12. But here's the plot twist. Based on our reverse engineering, we found that M1 adopts a mechanism called autolock, which always evicts L2 lines without L1 copies before evicting any lines that are also cached in L1. And given we must maintain a copy of X1 in the L1 cache, otherwise the later store-conditional will always give us fail. With autolock, we can never evict this X1 out of X2 and out of L1 and L2 unless every line in this L2 sets from X2 to all the way to X12 are also autolocked. And when every line is autolocked, autolock won't be effective anymore, and every line can be evicted based solely on the replacement policy. So to make sure that X1 all the way to X12 are all cached in L1 and L2, we leverage the fact that on M1, the L2 line size is actually twice of the L1 line size. So we developed a strategy called eviction set splitting by mapping half of the eviction set elements to the upper 64 byte of the L2 lines and the other half to the lower 64 byte of the L2 lines. And as you can see here, now all eviction set elements are cached in two adjacent L1 sets. So all elements are autolocked, which is equivalent to no one is autolocked. So X1 can still be the next one to evict. And the victim's access will then evict X1 from both L1 and L2, causing the later SC to fail. So in the basic S2C, we see how the attacker can monitor contention within a single L2 set by directly mapping the low-link address to the monitored set and observing evictions through the output of SC directly. Unfortunately, we cannot use multiple ALSC to simultaneously monitor more L2 sets because, as we mentioned here, at any given time, a processor core can only monitor one low-link address. So what do we do? But this is not the end of the world. Yes, we can naively consider SC fail as an indicator as a cache eviction happens, but more broadly, we can consider it as a 1-bit communication channel representing a binary combination of multiple microarterial events. And as you can see here, this is exactly the idea of microarterial weird circuit, and the same idea has been thoroughly discussed in the previous talk, which I really appreciate. So in our advanced S2C, we designed this microarterial weird circuit such that this 1-bit information is the result of an OR combination of contentions within multiple monitored sets. And to showcase the design of our microarterial weird circuit, let's assume that the attacker wants to apply ALSC to this address X to detect if at least one of the X1 or X2 is evicted. And the attacker's goal is that if any of X1 or X2 gets evicted, the low-link address X should be evicted too. So how do we do it? The attacker will first construct a linked list with x1, x2, and x. So performing a store conditional to x must go through the pointer chasing from x1 to x2 to x. And in parallel to the pointer chasing, we perform another load to an uncached address x prime, which is supposed to evict x. So here, we want to create a race between a secret dependent timing event, which is when the SC is performed after the pointer chasing, and a data independent event, which is the load of x prime. Now let's say at least one of x1 or x2 is evicted, then the pointer chasing to x will suffer from cache misses and will be slow. So x prime evicting x will happen before the execution of the SC. So we will observe a SC fail in this case. But if neither x1 or x2 is evicted, then the pointer chasing to x will be fast because we'll just have cache hits. And then SC will be performed much earlier than x prime can evict x, and the attacker can observe a SC success. And this is how we can deduce contention within multiple L2 sets with this 1-bit information provided by LSC. And the same method can be extended to monitor more cache sets, which we show in the paper. And due to the time limit, I will shortly summarize our evaluation. Our micro-weird circuit method can monitor up to 11 different L2 cache sets on M1 according to our experiment. And just like the previous cache attack, S2C can be used to construct cross-core covert channels and also attack cryptographic implementations such as the classic T-table AES, despite being timerless. And in conclusion, we proposed Synchronization Storage Channel, the first timerless cross-core cache attack on Apple M1, and also the first cache attack leveraging hardware synchronization instructions. And we hope our work can motivate future efforts in finding more instances of this kind of micro-architectural state to architectural state converters in addition to LLSC. So that ends my talk. Any questions?